What's up, BJJ fans? And of course, the BJJ stands for Blind Judo Journey. My name's Miles. I'm blind. I'm also a judo coach. I coach judo 4 to 10 hours a week. How do I do it? I'm blind. In short, very well, thank you. But seriously, how does a blind person coach judo? Originally, this was meant to be a video with me doing a piece to camera, talking about all the differences between visually impaired coaching, as a visually impaired person coaching sighted people, and I was going to talk through all the differences and how I approached it. And then I realised two things. One, that would be incredibly boring. And two, there really are not that many differences. It turns out that coaching judo is coaching judo. It doesn't matter if you can see or not. And there were two major things I'll say that I came up with as differences. There's classroom management, so knowing where people are, who's on the mat, what their skill set is. The way I approach classroom management is I make sure at the start of the session, I'll just ask someone who's on the mat, what grades they are, and I'll plan the session accordingly. As well, part of this, when I'm maybe not necessarily coaching, but I'm on the mat, I still make sure that I get to train with as many people as possible. I get to know what their skill sets are and what they need to learn. So that's just a part of the social dynamic of going to a judo club. You should train with everyone on the mat. You should learn their styles, especially if you're coaching them. That will help you be able to coach them more effectively. The second thing that people always ask me about how does a visually impaired person coach, they say, how does a blind person give feedback on other people's judo? I get thrown. A lot. A lot.
Nice!
By everyone in the room, multiple times. I find this incredibly rewarding, to be fair, because there is no greater feeling than teaching someone something and then them physically doing it to you correctly. It's really impressive, and it really shows me that I'm doing a good job when I coach people. But like I said, this isn't just going to be a piece to camera. I'm going to run you through the warm-up I did a couple of days ago. All you need to know about this session is that it was a fundamentals session aimed at teaching Koso Tagari and Koso Tagake, because I know we have an orange belt grading coming up, and Koso Tagari and Koso Tagake are throws that people often struggle with on the syllabuses for those. So let's take a look. So the way I think about warm-ups, every warm-up needs to fit 3 criteria. 1, it needs to actually warm you up, so it needs to be pretty active. That's surely obvious. 2, it needs to be fun. Okay? No one wants to do a warm-up that's boring. And 3, it needs to be related to judo. There is nothing that frustrates me more than a warm-up that starts with people running in a circle with no judo thrown in at all, because that's neither fun nor related to judo. If I wanted to go and do cardio, I could just go outside.
Now you may ask, why am I making people do push-ups and sit-ups? How are they related to judo? Well, what they're actually doing is I'm getting them used to the level changes that will be part of the next game, Dead Ants, where we drill some breakfall actions without them realising they're doing breakfalls. So you'll notice I wait for them to all stand up before making them get down again, so they get used to that level change.
Like a dog. Like a cat. Meow.
Now, the way I think about what techniques I'm going to teach in a warm-up, I split them into 3 categories. I teach fundamentals. These are things that you can never do too many times, such as basic footwork patterns, such as entering in for simple throws like Ippon Seoinage, Koso Tagari, basic movement. These are things that you can never do too many times. Second are things that are long-term skills that I'm attempting to build in our players. So for example, in this session, I did a lot of gripping. These are skills that I can't necessarily teach as one part of a session, but I can give people an exercise or a game that they can go away and do, and if we do this every week, maybe for 5 minutes, we will slowly build up the skills that we're trying to build.
So for example, this is a game where both players are trying to grab the nearest sleeve or the nearest lapel to them. Every time they do that and hold it for about a second, they get a point. Once they have 5 points, they're allowed to try and throw a big right hand over the back to try and get a big, deep top grip. Once they've done that, they are the winner. So the point in this is that we're trying to teach them some basic grip fighting skills. For the lower grades, this is a much better way of teaching them some of the skills than telling them that these are the correct things to be doing. We just drill in these motions to them, then they'll just do them automatically when they're fighting.
Mate! One of you on this side, one of you on this side.
Here's just a tip for all the coaches. If you want to split the room into 2 lines, get them to all partner up and do a game, and at the end of the game, tell one person to go on one side of the room and one person to go on the other. It will always split the room in half. So why am I showing you people just doing forward rolls down the mat? Obviously this is just a fundamental movement, right? Well, I want you to notice how I demonstrated the exercise going directly down the middle of the dojo. Once I got to the end, I turned around and retraced my steps in a straight line. This is a really great way of orienting yourself as a blind person in a dojo. Notice how then when I get to the wall, I put my back to it and square myself off to the room so that I'm always at a right angle to any of the walls. Obviously, if you're not the coach, make sure to go down the wall. I tend to trace the walls in a straight line so that I still know where I am. But being at a right angle to a wall at any time means that you'll never go off axis and walk into people and not know where you are. So I'm quite notorious for having my warm-ups involve quite a lot of gymnastics. This is mainly due to my background in gymnastics and free running. For those of you who have seen some of my shorts, you might already know that. But I do believe that a cartwheel is a super fundamental movement for judo, and it's also something that you should practice a lot. So I want to make sure everyone in the dojo is able to do this. I also think that it's quite important to challenge people, which is as you'll see next.
It's a bit harder. On whichever side you find easiest, we're going to do one-handed cartwheels. So it's your front hand, okay? Just don't touch the floor with your second hand. And if you really, really want to make it difficult, do your backhand, it's way harder. Alright, Jimmy, here we go.
So like I say, I do think it's important to challenge people. So if you can do a cartwheel, this is a really good progression from it. Most importantly, because when someone Tomonagis you, they're usually holding at least one of your sleeves. So you kind of have to do the cartwheel out of it one-handed anyway. For those who don't know, a cartwheel is a really good defense for a Tomonagi.
It's a bit harder, no-handed cartwheels.
So the third type of exercise that I put in my warm-ups after fundamental exercises and long-term skills is techniques relating directly to the session that we're doing. So for example, here we're hopping down the mat whilst hooking our partner's foot. This is building in very nicely to the koso to gake and koso to gari that we're going to be doing later in the session.
Another thing about classroom management, for me, you'll notice everyone, when I'm getting to train, they tend to train in a grid pattern. So I know where everyone in the room is, and I can walk through them, I can interweave, and I know where every person in this room is and who they're training with. This allows me to much more effectively teach people, and it means also that I'm not walking into people the whole time. So I've been coaching about a year, and I've learnt so much in that time. One of the most important things I found is that you need to have your own voice. So for example, my original coach for judo was a 60-year-old 6th Dan. He was very good and commanded an incredible amount of respect. I'm a 23-year-old 2nd Dan who likes making a few jokes, and I'm friends with a lot of people in the dojo, which means that I don't carry the same amount of authority, or I'm not able to easily command that. So I take a slightly different style. I take a more jovial style, I throw in a few more jokes. I do make sure to stay serious when it's needed. There are some times where I do have to put on a serious coach's voice. Another thing I've learnt is that you can never coach something too many times. In that, the first time I've coached lots of things, I will coach it, I'll go around the room, and then I'll realise, oh, everyone's asking me the same question. At which point I'll call Mate, I'll get everyone to come watch, and I'll be able to demonstrate the thing that everyone's having issues with. So this means that if I do it in one session, I think, oh, I did okay there, or the next time I coach that session, maybe in a few weeks' time, in a month's time, I'll do a much better job of it, and everyone will learn more from that. So I think never think that you can't coach something again. The third piece of advice is coach stuff you're not good at. So, as I think I've shown with all of the videos I've been putting up lately, I love Osotogari. Osotogari is the throw I do. It's my main throwing technique. And I would like to think I'm quite good at it. But if I only teach Osotogari, everyone in the room is only ever going to learn Osotogari. I know, for example, that I'm not particularly good at Ippon Seoinage. So I will go away, I will look up other people's ways of doing Ippon Seoinage, I will talk to some of the other people who in the club who are better at Ippon Seoinage than me, I will gain knowledge from them, and the process of coaching will make you a better judo player. So I do think that I've developed in my judo because I've coached. The final thing I'll say is just because you're blind does not mean that you're not able to coach people. I have gained so much confidence in coaching because I realise I'm actually decent at it. I'm not the best in the world, I'm not a world-class coach, but I've coached people to win medals. When we went to the London University Open a few months ago, I was the main coach there. We took 14 medals. Every single person medalled. And that was super rewarding to see how, seeing people do the techniques that we've been looking at in the dojo. That's so cool, isn't it? Like how you can show someone a drop Seoinage and then they go out there and they do it. It's amazing. So don't be afraid to coach. You're a lot better than you think you are. If you've got the qualifications to do it, go and do it. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed my analysis of how blind people coach judo and what I've learned from coaching judo. As usual, it's really appreciated if you like, comment, share, and subscribe. If you have any suggestions of videos you'd like to see, please drop them in the comments. Any tutorials you'd like me to put up, any videos on how blind people do certain things, please ask me a question. I would love to make the video on it. I'd love to give more information about blind judo and my experience with judo as a whole. Until then, I'm going to end this video with the clip of me bowing everyone on to the session because I thought it was quite funny.
Alright, so I'm going to film the warm-up. Probably not as well, because hey guys, I have a judo channel.
Oh really? I hadn't heard.
We've all been in it now.
I'm trying to make a video about how teaching when you're blind is different, and it's just not. It's just a really dull video. Right.
Sormade.